So, did Russia hack the election? We keep hearing about this again and again. And if they did, it seems like such a serious charge, right? What big implications for our country and our democracy. I'm here to tell you quickly and concisely that no, we should not be saying that Russia hacked the election, that Russian spies hacked the election. It is the most fear-mongering fake news, and it's very, very damaging of a narrative. I personally don't want to go to war with Russia or have another Cold War, and they just keep spinning this narrative again and again and over in such a way that I'm starting to question that. So let me explain how, even though I am not in the CIA, right, I know and can explain my logic to you that Podesta and Podesta's emails, which is what they mean, right? In case you're not sure, this hacked the election, what they're really talking about is the WikiLeaks emails from John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. His emails were released to WikiLeaks. Hacked is a very strong word, but his emails were acquired from him and given to WikiLeaks. Now, they're calling this Russia hacking the election because it gets a lot of clickbait and a lot of media coverage. But allow me to present a very simple analogy along with some facts. First, I'm going to give you some facts. What we know from the WikiLeaks emails, as well as some verification from the people involved, is how Podesta got hacked. And put that in quotes. He got a phishing email, which, if you're not familiar, is all these emails you get where they're like, "Oh, hi, yeah, you need to reset your password for your bank. Why don't you come here at this link to www.notreallyyourbankswebsite.com and fill in all your password information." That's called a phishing email, if you're unfamiliar. And Podesta got a phishing email that wanted him to click on a link to reset his password, to give some information. Typical stuff. Because he's technologically incapable, and he's, a grandpa, he had to ask one of his interns or assistants. I forget if it's an intern or assistant. I think an assistant. But he asked one of his assistants, should I click the link? I'm not sure. Is this legitimate? And his assistant takes blame for this, so I don't know why we're saying Russia hacked the election when his assistant has come out and said he takes the blame for being unclear in his answer about whether or not Podesta should click the link. Podesta's like, "Hey, is this legitimate? Should I click it?" And his assistant is like, "Yeah, that's legitimate." But he's like, "Oh, I meant to say that's illegitimate." So a little typo, a little error, whatever, a little miscommunication, and Podesta clicks the link and enters his password into this web page, and now somebody has this information, logs into his account, and copies everything. So maybe you're hearing that and you're like, okay, but what if it was Russians that sent him the email? Good point. I personally think that we cannot know. If you know enough about internet technology, you can know that it's possible for people to obfuscate things like IP addresses and where they seem to be coming from. So even if it seemed to be a Russian email or whatever that sent the email to Podesta, I would say that that is not proof positive it came from Russia. But let's just say, right, because I'm not in the CIA, let's just say that the email absolutely 100% for sure came from Russia that got him hacked. Let's just say that. Should we then go from there to Russia hacked the election? No. And I think that this analogy I'm about to tell you will make that very clear. If you're familiar with this, especially. The Nigerian Prince scam. Have you guys heard of this? Are you familiar with this? This is the oldest email scam in the book, basically. If you haven't heard of this, I'll run it through quickly. You can Google it. Where a Nigerian prince contacts you and he's like, "Hello, I have an inheritance of $40 million that I'm trying to gain access to. I'm trying to come to America with it," or something like that. But but I just need a little assistance from a trustworthy American citizen. And basically they go on and there's different methods, but they try to get you to give them just a little bit of money somehow, right? Maybe like you need to pay a wire fee of a few $100s in order to get your share of these millions. And it sounds like a silly scam, because it is, and hopefully very few people are falling for it these days. But especially years back, this was incredibly popular. I remember getting these weekly in my email inbox. And so if, let's just say, hypothetically, Podesta fell for the Nigerian prince thing, and they're like, oh yes, we have $1 million we can give you, and blah, 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 and all you have to do is, is wire us this money, and he wires them the money, and he falls for this Nigerian prince scam. And would you say that Nigeria hacked him? That they hacked him? That the country of Nigeria hacked him? Because this one likely and I've watched some documentaries on this, right? The Nigerian, it's a very big booming industry and culture in Nigeria, this internet scamming. There's not a lot of ways for them to make good money, and this is one of them. So there's a lot of kids who go into computer labs and spend all day trying to figure out the best way to scam people. And so let's just say that one of these likely 16, 17-year-old kids on a computer in Nigeria pretending to be a prince got some money out of him. Should we then say that Nigeria, the country, is hacking us? Does that sound a little fucking ridiculous to you? It sounds a little bit ridiculous to me. And that's what we're doing with Russia. Because as Trump said, maybe it's some 400-pound kid in a basement. Maybe it's some 17-year-old Russian kid. Maybe it's an older Russian man. Maybe it is actually a Russian spy. Whatever, whatever you think the purpose of that would be. And so what, man? We need to quit using language like hacking when we're talking about such simple stuff that anything can do. It's not like they sent a nuclear missile, which is what this makes it sound like. The Russian government hacked our election. That's like, oh my God, are they like poisoning us with fucking gases and shit? No, we're talking about something much more on the lines of petty shoplifting, right? It's something that literally teenagers do all the time. In fact, without any actual data to back this up, obviously, I would fairly comfortably say that the huge and vast majority of this type of phishing email, this type of internet scamming, is being done by very young people, largely teenagers and people in their 20s. And the idea that these phishing emails, which are mostly intended to make a few measly bucks and like credit card fraud and things like that, logging into people's accounts and cleaning them out, right? That this is on the level of some government-wide attack against our democracy and our process is just ridiculous. And if I was a Russian, I couldn't help but feel that America was being quite a bully and seems to be building up this narrative to justify some kind of attack or sanction. And if you look at the Russian media, you will see that that's pretty much exactly what they think. And they're like, wow, this is ridiculous and we need to be careful. And they're doing, bomb shelter drills and things like this. And it's a little bit worrisome. So next time you hear someone say that Russia hacked the election, maybe you can push back a bit on that and give them a little thought and some facts, right? Because, one final thing I'll leave you with, I don't know if I mentioned, it came out in the WikiLeaks emails that John Podesta's password, which they emailed to each other, like, right? Even if you do it, that like writing your password on a sticky note and putting it on your monitor, like, it might be good. It's probably not the #1 safest thing in the world. And if you were a politician with a bunch of kind of more sensitive information, you might not want to do stuff like that. Yeah, well, these guys are just literally, they email back and forth in the WikiLeaks emails. You can go read these yourself. Where they're like, hey, I'm trying the password to that account, and I keep typing Obama in '08, and it doesn't work. And the other one I tried doesn't work. And what, do you know what the password is? And they just email this stuff back and forth. And because of this behavior, the guy who hacked the email was able to get a number of passwords. And they were all terrible in a security sense, by the way. Obama in '08 is his password. You know, not the hardest thing to guess ever for the Democratic campaign manager, right? Probably should have a little bit better security there. And maybe we can quit blaming Russia for these imagined issues. That's about all.